But Garrett, you're rounding out this first segment with that team up north. Trey mentioned you got to beat Michigan at least a couple of times. And maybe that's true. Maybe that's not. Jim Harbaugh's headed to the NFL. Where do you see Michigan going here as Harbaugh goes to the Los Angeles Chargers?
Well, first off, we'll call them Michigan, not the team up north. Let's be respectful, okay? Let's be respectful of our current national champions, okay? They're the reigning national champions for a reason. And look, this is a successful season for them. Obviously, 15-0 national championship, great. But one of the things that we even addressed when I did that, victory lap with Teddy was, man, like this next year is about to be pretty tough, right? Because you have to think that Harbaugh might be leaving. Now we've confirmed that he is going off to the Chargers. Obviously Sharon Moore, kind of the insider, main thought he's probably going to be the guy that gets that chance, and well deserved too. By the way, he did a great job in relief, and was able to lead some pretty impressive victories at the end of that season while Harbaugh was suspended. And I think he's going to be able to be successful going forward. But the dynamic has really changed around Michigan. Not only are you losing Harbaugh, you're also losing McCarthy. You're also going to be losing Corum, right? You're losing Roman Wilson. You're losing playmakers across that team. They're going to have talent. There's still a talented roster, but that is young talent. That's inexperienced talent for a lot of it, right? And so you're going to have to watch that talent make a jump. But in addition to that, you have to consider the fact that everything else in the Big Ten is also occurring, right? First off, you're bringing in the other team that you just played in the national championship game. They got a good head coach as well. I know that DeBoer left, but Jed Fish is a good head coach up there at Washington. You're also bringing in who a lot of people are already considering a dark horse to make it this year in Oregon. And oh, by the way, Ohio State is stacking talent. We're going to talk about that in a second, but they're just stacking talent. I don't know how they got everybody to come back. I mean, everybody but Maserati Marv, it seems like, is coming back. And some of the departures, I think are a little bit welcome in that Buckeye fan base. I know that not too many people were crying to see Kyle McCord walk out the door, and that's, possibly not really fair. He was a fine quarterback. I just don't think special enough for what Buckeyes fans are expecting.
Mm-hmm.
But man, like for Michigan right now, you have to balance all of that and say, look, we're losing the head football coach. So there's going to be some amount of change within the program. You're losing a lot of talent, so there's going to be some amount of regression in terms of on-field production and success, and the competition levels going way, way, way up and through the roof. I mean, if you look at Michigan's schedule next year, broke that down. They have Texas at home week 2. They also play, I believe, USC, Oregon, and Washington out of
Yep.
that new group of people. And oh, by the way, you still play Ohio State. That's 5 possible losses from very good football teams
Mm-hmm.
that I don't think Michigan loses all 5 of them. But we even talked about this on the pod with Teddy. 10-2 is a great season for Michigan next year. It just won't get it done, right? It just won't get it done in terms of that success. Now, all of that being said, I want to wrap that whole thought up with this. Better to have a championship banner hanging when all of this is going on than to not have that championship banner hanging. And so, Michigan fans, like it might be tough days ahead in the next couple of years. It might be a little bit tough to kind of reestablish yourselves, but you've got the championship, you got the trophy in the trophy case, you have the memories from the season. And so I think that'll go a long way, kind of holding over the fan base and making sure the fan base stays bought in as this big transition is going on.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And you say 10-2 would not get it done. I think we're gonna have to adjust our expectations on what 10-2 means in this new era of college football, because 10-2 with that schedule next year, I think they're absolutely in the college football playoff. And then, you're talking about what's your matchup? Are you getting a home game in the first round? Are you traveling somewhere else? A home game in Michigan in December could be a big advantage for the Wolverines. So
Yeah.
if they're going 10-2 on that schedule and they sneak in with the 7 or 8 seed, get that home game, that could be a big
Yeah.
advantage for them to move on to the next round.
I don't want to play a home game, around Christmas time in Ann Arbor. I don't want to do that.
Absolutely not.
Right.
I don't want to be the road team in that situation.
Talk about an Alabama or a Clemson or a Florida State going up to Ann Arbor or Columbus or any of these northern schools. That's one of the things I'm fascinated about with the new college football playoff.
What do you guys think about Harbaugh's legacy at Michigan? Andy Staples made a comment on Twitter today where he said that those who believe that Harbaugh is going to the NFL because he doesn't want to deal with the system are basically believing a lie, right? Believing a fantasy. It's because he was so close to winning a Super Bowl. I commented back, I think both of those things can be true, and then he doubled down saying one of those is true, one of those absolutely is not true. Does that affect his legacy in your mind? That he's reached the summit. He won a championship. He's accomplished in his mind all he can at Michigan, and now it's on to greener pastures in the NFL.
I don't think that anything can tarnish his legacy at this point. I don't think if the cheating scandal comes out and it was all like 10 times worse than what we thought it was, I
Mhm.
don't think that tarnishes it because to blow this out of proportion and to put it in biblical terms, he's essentially Joshua leading them out of the wilderness and into the promised land. He brought Michigan back. He brought them all the way back. He put a trophy in the trophy case. He's, son of Michigan, came back rocking the khakis, not wearing a shirt, hanging out on the football field. But, like, he was just the whole way just a Michigan guy. He just fit with the fan base. Some people thought he was a little, wacky, but the fan base
Conquered
loved him.
Rome, took on the Italians.
Yeah, like he's looked a little wacky to an outsider, but like he was just a Michigan guy. And when you get to do that for your alma mater, for the team that you were there for them the whole time. Now you get to come back as a coach and you get to, coach your team, being able to lead them to a championship. There's no greater feeling, right? There's nothing more that you can do. And so for Michigan fans, I don't think you're going to be able to find a one, no matter how many times he fell short prior to, getting slacked by Georgia, a couple years ago and coming up short against TCU. And none of that matters at this point, right? None of that's going to matter. And I don't think any amount of, cheating scandal, we stole signs, something else happened, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that's going to change anything for Michigan fans. And so if you're talking about his legacy to the college football world, they'll make up their mind later.
Mhm.
But the only opinions that matter on this one belong to the Michigan fans, because who cares about that coach's legacy to anybody else? When you talk about the grand scheme of things, it matters what their fan base thinks. And I think for Michigan fans, Harbaugh will go down as one of their favorite and possibly greatest coaches of all time.
Well, and when you think about it from a neutral standpoint, the NCAA is going to take way too long to get this all prosecuted in whatever system they're using for
Sure.
anybody to care at that point. When's the last time we've cared about an NCAA ruling and thought, oh, that tarnishes the legacy? I feel like as those take longer and longer and we get more and
Mhm.
more removed, it just elevates the legacy. Look at Reggie Bush and
Yes.
the Ohio State guys that, got Jim Tressel fired. Like, I know that's apples and oranges, but if we change the rules with videography, or if a rule change happens in the future, there's just so many variables that
Mhm.
could make that just a nothing burger.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I was thinking of both of those examples as far as like, okay, yeah, did something get done that broke the rules? Yes, of course. Harbaugh and if this sign stealing scandal, we'll see what comes out about it, continues to come out about it if the NCAA has new information, but like objectively wrong, right? Objectively breaking the rules. Uh and still to your point, like if they take something away in 2030, nobody's going to care. Everybody is going to say, okay, you punished him. You made him sit out. He missed 6 games for various infringements, right? And now if you do something like take away a trophy or put an asterisk by it, like nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody cares. It's not the Houston Astros of a couple of years ago, right? Where it was just every single game, it had real instant impact. The NCAA hasn't been able to show that like the MLB could about the Astros. So for me, that's exactly my sentiment here. I'm not a Michigan fan. I'm not a Michigan hater, but I simply don't care.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And just real quick, yes or no, guys? It looks like Michigan's going to hire Sharon Moore to replace him.
Mhm.
Yes or no? Is that the right move?
It seems like it should be, right? I mean, ace recruiter, locker room guy, tough nosed, is going to keep that Michigan culture in place. I mean, Garrett, what do you think?
I mean, look, for all intents and purposes, this guy's already beaten Ohio State. So, like, this is a
True.
great culture fit for him, right? for him, he's already been there. They know who he is. He's going to be able to keep the locker room intact. When you win a national championship, you want to bring that back. Your head coach is leaving, obviously. You're losing some players, but you're retaining a significant portion of that staff through keeping Sharon Moore and any assistants that he convinces to stay on to coach with him. I think this is a great move. I think this is better than a lot of things you could have done. I know that a lot of people were talking Brian Kelly, and that's still, I guess, technically an option until the ink has been dry on the paper. But it's I don't think that's a very good move for Michigan. I don't think a lot of people in Michigan would like that as a move. And so I think, look, if there's not a better candidate out there somewhere that you can just make him say yes, and I kind of struggle to think of how many candidates there really would be that you'd want to bring in and just say, give him a blank check, let him do whatever he wants to do. I think, yeah, keep it in the program, right? Keep Sharon Moore and let him do his thing.
I'm right there with you guys. I think it would be a fantastic move. I'm usually not team promote from within, but in this case, you have one of the top assistants in the entire game. And when your options like that, or go out and get somebody like Brian Kelly, or if you're not getting Brian Kelly, you're getting someone pretty unproven at that point, I would think, unless they can lure a really big fish. But I think that's the best possible move for them right now.
Nick Saban's going north. Yeah, totally agree. I think Michigan is in as good a hands as they can be given Harbaugh's departure.
Gracious him! How about